Hey guys, I'm back. We were having some technical difficulties just a moment ago, so hopefully everything seems to look like it's working okay. So I'm just going to dive right into what we were going to discuss, which is why I have deleted Instagram. And I haven't deleted my Instagram account, but instead I've deleted the app on my phone, and I haven't permanently deleted it. It's temporary, but I'll go into all the details later on in this episode. The work you do for your clients feels fulfilling and impactful, but running a business? That feels hard. You're not only in charge of your client work, you're also head of marketing, management, admin, client satisfaction, systems and processes. Yeah, it can feel overwhelming. That's where this podcast comes in. You're listening to The Simple Business Show with me, Nisha Woolery. Each week, we'll discuss simple ways to start, market, and organize your service-based business. My mission? To teach solopreneurs how to simplify their business so they can earn more money by doing less stuff. Let's dive in. Just quickly interrupting the show to let you know about the freebie that comes with this episode. If you know you need to organize your service-based business, but you think you don't have time and you don't even know where to start, don't worry, I've got you. I created a free roadmap called the Roadmap to Organize Your Business, and it maps out the exact 10 areas of your biz that you need to organize ASAP. Step 1 is an area most solopreneurs overlook, but organize this and you'll not only achieve peace of mind, you'll most likely make more income. To download your free roadmap, go to nishawoolery.com/roadmap. First of all, I do want to sort of preface this episode by telling you guys, reminding you guys that Instagram isn't bad. It can be a source of inspiration, it can be a source of connection. Quite often we can go on Instagram and we can see other business owners who are doing incredible things and sharing and spreading incredible messages. And that can be a great source of inspiration for us. And it can be a great place for us to connect with potential clients, connect with potential collaborators, and make friends. So I do want to start out this episode by telling you guys that Instagram isn't bad. It's not a toxic thing if you don't let it be. But I believe that Instagram, if left unchecked, can have a negative impact on our mental well-being. And that's what I've noticed happening to me recently in my personal Instagram account. Not so much in my business Instagram account. And for those of you who are thinking, wait, what? She's got two different accounts. I basically have a personal Instagram that's just for my friends and my family. So it only has 250 followers, and it's just people that I know. And I just share things on there that are just for me and my friends and fam. Whereas with my business, I just like to keep that separate from my personal account, if that makes sense. That's just the way that I do things. You don't have to do things that way, but that's just the way that I've always done Instagram ever since Instagram became a thing and ever since I had a business. So I have two separate Instagram accounts. And basically the other day, I was doing some journaling because I have a morning journaling practice where I get up and I like to light a candle, I turn on my fairy lights, I make myself a coffee, and I get my journal out and my favourite pen, and I just basically journal. And sometimes it's stream of consciousness journaling, which is where you just write down basically everything that you're thinking. It could be absolutely anything that you're thinking. You just write it down. And sometimes I like to follow prompts, which is when I just like to ask myself a question and then I will write out my answer to that question. Even if I don't fully know what it's going to be, I'll just start writing whatever comes to my mind. And that really helps me personally just sort through my thoughts, because I can tend to be quite the overthinker. I don't know if any of you guys can relate to that, where you just feel like your mind is running at 1,000,000 miles a minute and you're just thinking tons of different things and you can't really keep up. Or it could just be sometimes that am kind of confused and I can't really understand how I feel about something. So I like to journal in that time, just to help me figure that stuff out. And I cannot believe my next door neighbour's construction has just started up again. This is like the worst moment for it. But I'm just going to continue. And it's awesome that you can hear us, Raina. I'm really glad. So I love to journal, and 3 prompts that I gave myself last week were the questions: what destroys my peace, what protects my peace, and what would happen if I let those things go. And one of the answers that came up for me around what destroys my peace is Instagram. And that was really strange to me. I didn't actually fully expect myself to write that. It just kind of came out. And I'm going to be discussing why in this episode and some of the reasons you may be able to relate to. I mean, I'm not going to go into like my main reason until later on in this video, but I'm going to go through a few reasons that aren't really my main reasons, but I hear them as the reasons for why a lot of the people in my community are feeling sort of burned out by Instagram. So the first reason is that Instagram can be, and I'm not saying it is all the time, but it can be a comparison trap. Now, this isn't the biggest problem that I personally have with Instagram, but I know that it used to be, especially when I was in like my first sort of maybe like year 4, year 5 of my business. This used to kind of be more of my problem. But maybe you can relate to the point where you go on Instagram and you find yourself comparing your achievements to the achievements of other business owners. Or maybe you compare the likes that they get to you, or maybe you compare their lifestyle and the income that they make to your lifestyle and your income. I know that I've definitely heard some business owners tell me that they will go on Instagram and they'll see these business owners who have just bought incredible houses or just had this luxurious wedding or whatever, or they've just hit like $1 million or 6 figures, and find themselves comparing themselves to that and thinking, why don't I have the luxury wedding, the luxury home? Why am I not hitting 6 figures? And I think this is especially apparent in solopreneurs who started out at the same time as business owners who are doing really, really well. I think that there tends to be that tendency to just compare where you are to where they are and feel that it's not fair because you both started at the same time. You've worked very hard. You've hustled your butt off, but you're just not where they are. And I think that one last comparison that I see a lot of people making, and I used to make this comparison all the time, was comparing communities. So you may compare your community and your followers to another business owner and think she has this incredible community who are just really interactive with her. They're always having amazing conversations in the comments. Maybe you think to yourself, whenever she posts that, like, have you seen that ask a question box on Instagram stories? Maybe you think to yourself, whenever I do that, nobody asks me anything. So you can find yourself comparing so many different things just on Instagram. But there's a quote from Brené Brown that I absolutely love on comparison, and it is, stay in your lane. Comparison kills creativity and joy. So I think that maybe you may have heard the famous quote about comparison, that comparison is the thief of all joy. But I love Brené's take on it even more than that quote, because comparison does not just kill joy, it kills your creativity. Because when you're comparing on other business owners, when you're focusing on what they are doing, you're stepping out of your lane and you're not creating anything. You're just too busy watching what other people are doing and not putting anything out there into the world yourself. And I think that if many of us just stopped the comparison game and we just like shut down and we're like, okay, forget it. I'm not going to watch other people. I'm just going to focus on creating for my own tribe. I'm just going to focus on connecting with my own tribe. We would be so much happier and would get so much further than we would just by like sitting and staring at other people, looking at what they are doing and wishing that, in a sense, we were more like them. And that leads me on to point number 2, actually, because Instagram can cause us to spend more time consuming than creating. And this is one that hit home for me quite some while ago. And it's that around that time when it really did hit me, I was like, okay, I'm going to put boundaries on how much time I spend on Instagram and on other social media apps as well. But the statistic that I want to share with you guys is from Inc. Because they said that the average person spends 4 hours, you guys, a day on their device. And for business owners, I actually think that that could be even more because we run our businesses from our phones, right? So I do think that we have the tendency to spend extreme amounts of time on our phones. But I'm going to go as far as to say that most of our time is spent on social media, probably Instagram, since that's like the number one social media platform that we all love. And I'm not like dissing Instagram, by the way. I do really like it. It's just that a lot of us spend way too much time in there. So let's take that statistic and say that out of the 4 hours a day that you spend on your phone, you spend half of that on Instagram. So that's like 2 hours every single day. If you didn't go on Instagram for 2 hours every day, what could you do with those extra 2 hours each day? Because an extra 2 hours each day is 10 extra hours per week, right? So just think of the things that you could do with 10 extra hours each week. You could create and launch an ebook or a course over time, of course, not like in just 1 week. You could go to the gym every day, like 2 hours every day in the gym. You're going to get the health and the body that you've wanted for so long, right? Or maybe you take time or you make time 2 hours every day for a morning practice. So you know how I was telling you guys that I have my morning practice where I get up and I light a candle and I journal. I also do things like pray, and sometimes, depending on how much time I'll have, I'll try and meditate and things like that. Maybe you're the kind of person who's always thought, I'd love to do that, but I don't have the time. But with 2 extra hours per day, you could make that time, right? So it's just like whatever you have always wanted to do, you could make it happen with 2 extra hours per day. So I just want you to ask yourself, if you freed up 2 hours a day to do whatever it is that you want to do, what would your life look like in 1 year? Just think about it. What would it look like in 1 year if you just freed up those 2 hours each day that you spend on Instagram or whatever other social media that you tend to spend a lot of your time on? And number 3, this is the reason, to be totally honest, that I decided that I'm going to delete the Instagram app, which I did this morning. And that was because of analysing why I post on Instagram. And again, this is like more to do with my personal Instagram account, the one that I use with my family and friends. But I wanted to share it with you guys because I think that a lot of you can apply the same principles to your business Instagram if you do have 2 separate ones. But yeah, this is the biggest reason why I decided to delete the app from my phone temporarily. Because when I was doing those journal prompts, when I was going through those journal prompts, I asked myself, why did I just write that Instagram destroys my peace? And it led to me asking myself, well, why do I post? And my answers just weren't good enough. They weren't the right answers, basically. So I wrote down things like external validation, instant gratification, posting for just a couple of individuals to see. And don't tell me that you guys don't do that too. I strongly believe that we all do that from time to time. Like, we'll just have that one person or like those couple of people who follow us who we just are posting this for them to see, if you get what I mean. And don't leave me hanging and feeling weird for doing this. Go ahead and comment and tell me if you do it too, because at first I was like, oh gosh, maybe that's just like a really stupid thing to do. It is a very stupid thing to do, but I think that it's something that we all do. And my last reason for why I post that I wrote down was because I was posting, or I have been posting on my personal Instagram account to perform or impress. So what I mean by this is It's basically when you're posting your achievements to impress someone or impress everyone. So, and essentially it comes down to your self-worth, right? Like you're getting self-worth from like performing or impressing. So for me, it would be like posting travel pics to prove that I'm interesting, posting selfies to prove that I'm pretty, posting gym pics to prove that I'm strong and I'm fit, posting photos of my work because I'm trying to prove my intelligence. Does that make sense to you guys? And it's something that I didn't really I wasn't really aware that I was doing that until I did this journaling. And after the journal session, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like my core reason for posting to my personal Instagram account. And what a waste of time. But I think that just like to quickly emphasize on this point, I guess, when we're doing things like this, whether it's in our business or on our personal social media accounts, if we're posting to impress like everyone or one person, whatever it is, we're essentially getting our validation from other people, which is fine. Like there's nothing essentially wrong with that. But if that becomes the core reason why you're doing something, then there is something wrong with that, because you should get your validation from yourself, and you should feel self-worth from within and not from external sources. So that's just like one thing that I noticed about my posting, that I was just like, okay, I'm gonna do something about this. So what I want you guys to do is analyze why you post on your Instagram account. And again, this applies more to your personal Instagram, this particular point. But I guess that it could also apply to your business Instagram account, because you could ask yourself questions like, do I find myself posting on Instagram just because I think I should? Or do I find myself posting on my Instagram stories, or trying to post on my Instagram stories every day because I think I should, or because I'm being told that I should? Just want to give a quick shout out to this week's sponsor, my free masterclass, The Simple 10-Step Plan to Organize Your Service-Based Business, even if you have no time. If you've been feeling stressed and overwhelmed from doing #all the things in your biz, and you're ready to stress less, work less hours, but make more money, this masterclass is for you. You'll not only learn my simple 10-step framework to organizing your business, you'll also learn how organizing it can double your income. No exaggeration, I'll even show you how one of my students achieved this. Go to nishawoolery.com/masterclass to sign up today. Get into the habit of asking yourself why you do things in your business and in your life, because asking ourselves why we're doing something will indicate whether or not we're doing it for the right reasons. And whatever your answer to why is, or rather, whenever your answer to why is external validation, instant gratification, or because you feel you should, notice the word should. Whenever we use that word should, it's always an indication that it's for the wrong reasons. If those are ever your reasons, they're not good enough reasons. Quite frankly, this is something that I have realized recently, and I just really wanted to share it, because I think more often than not, a lot of us will fall into this trap of posting online for external validation and instant gratification, instead of getting those things from within ourselves and doing the inner work to feel those things from within ourselves. We just find it easier to, get the quick fix by posting online and getting that validation. Struggle to say that word. Getting that from external sources, because it's easier than getting it from within us. And if your reason to why you're doing something, whether that's posting on Instagram or posting on a different social media platform, or whether it's even just something in your business that you're doing because you feel you quote unquote should do it, that's not good enough, because that means that you are doing something because of programming and not necessarily out of preference. And when we do something because of programming and not preference, we're essentially not living consciously. Like, we're not making conscious choices for how we want to spend our time. By the way, you can always tell if you're doing something out of preference, because that will be rooted in your values, your priorities, and it will be something that you enjoy doing, that you feel good doing. If you're doing something out of programming, so you're doing something because you're programmed to think that you should do this, it's going to feel very different. It's going to feel heavy. It's going to feel burdensome. You're going to feel resistance towards doing it. And in terms of business, I think that this could be things like working 9 to 5. Like, do you guys ever find yourself working 9 to 5 from home, even though you're your own business owner and you could work whatever hours you want to, but you choose 9 to 5 because you are programmed from a very young age that working 9 to 5 is what you're supposed to do. It's what you should do. Or it could be something like, again, using Instagram, like posting to Instagram. Maybe you feel like you should post daily because that's what you're being told a smart and successful business owner does to like raise brand awareness and connect with clients and la la la. And so you're trying to like force yourself to do it because you think you should do it, but it's not really what you want to do. There's like big differences here that you need to focus on, like asking yourself, do I want to do this, or am I doing it because everyone's telling me I should do this? And if you realize it's because of a should, then you can make changes to that. And I always like to tell people that you don't need to feel like you should do something in your business. There are no such thing as shoulds in your business because you're the business owner. Like, you own this business, you are the boss, and you get to decide what you do and do not do in your business. There is no such thing as should, no matter what it is. So if there's anything in your business right now that you feel like you should be doing, but you don't like doing it, you can just stop, or you can automate that, or you can delegate that. You don't have to do it. So moving on to putting boundaries around Instagram, because I think I went on a tangent then, but I'm going to just like rein it back in. The way that I'm putting boundaries on Instagram is that I have temporarily deleted the app from my phone. So this is day 1 of me deleting it. I'm not going to reinstall it for another week, so that it will be like Monday next week that I reinstall it. So that means no Instagram stories from me for the next week, but you'll still see my posts on my Instagram feed because we use an app online to do that. So yeah, so you'll still see my posts in your feed, but you won't see my Instagram stories because I'm not doing them. And then after 1 week has gone by, I'm thinking that I'm going to reinstall it, but I'm not going to log into my personal account. I'm just going to log into my business account because I feel like I need to well and truly detox from my personal account and get myself out of that habit of posting to receive some kind of validation from people. So I'm thinking maybe after like 3 weeks or so, I'll log back into my personal account. I don't know. That's just kind of what I'm thinking, because the reason that I just kind of like pulled 3 weeks out of the air is because if you guys have ever gone through an addiction yourself, or like you have a friend who has, or something like that, then you may have heard that your first sort of withdrawal symptoms will come in the 2 to 3 week mark, like within the first 21 days, and it's usually around 2 to 3 weeks. And so in this case, I know it's nothing major, like Instagram's not that big of a deal, but I do think that we can often be addicted to a certain social media app, or we can often be addicted to our phones. And so breaking that is going to take like at least the first 21 days to just like get through that initial feeling of I must do this. And I think the biggest challenge for me is going to be getting through the need to share when I do something that will impress, which I know sounds really, really like ridiculous, but I'm just going to be like totally vulnerable in this episode. Yeah, I feel like for me, it'll be that I'll do something that is quote unquote impressive, or just like something fun or whatever. And I'll just like feel this need to post it for like a certain person to see or whatever. And for me, the challenge is going to be just like giving myself mind over matter and just ignoring that urge and just moving on and letting myself be present with that moment and not feel the need to share it on social media. But boundaries that you can put on Instagram, because remembering that I am talking to business owners from my business account, so we're not just going to talk about personal Instagram stuff. If you are maybe feeling like you have no problem posting, for instant gratification and stuff like that, but your problem is that you spend too much time on Instagram, then one boundary that you could put on that is to use an app called Freedom that blocks apps for a certain period of time, whatever period of time you decide. And I think that you can also use it to block the internet and block specific websites if you want to. But yeah, go and check that out, because you can block apps for a certain period of time if you want to. If you want to just kind of limit how much time you get to spend on your apps each day. But what I really want you to do, what I really would love to challenge you to do, a boundary that I'd like you to set up, is just to delete Instagram or whatever social media app you use the most, that you're the most addicted to. I would love for you to delete it for 24 hours and see how that makes you feel. Just detox from it. You could do it for a whole weekend if you wanted to. I think a weekend would be the best, but if you could just do it for 24 hours, I think that would be amazing for you. Or another thing that you could do is not go on your phone for a whole 24 hours. I've done this before and it feels so weird, you guys, but it's weird because you have this habit of constantly picking up your phone, but at the same time, it feels really refreshing because you don't have that distraction anymore. And I find myself being so much more productive on those days. And I find myself getting a lot more stuff done. And by the way, deleting Instagram from your phone is one of the 21 self-care ideas for solopreneurs that I put together in a really cool free workbook for you recently. So I'll drop the link to that below this post. But moving on, your business can have a positive or a negative impact on your mental health. And so that's why it's so important to ask yourself the questions that I shared with you earlier. Ask yourself, what destroys my peace? What protects my peace? And what would happen if I let those things go? And I want you to go ahead and journal those, write down those questions, give yourself a little bit of time and just see what comes up for you. And it may not be Instagram. It could be that something that destroys your peace it could be inbox management. It could be blogging. It could be posting in Facebook groups. Every day, whatever it is that just takes away from your peace, you'll figure that out when you journal about it. There was a video recently from someone and I can't remember who it was. I saw it somewhere and I wish that I could remember. So if you guys know, go ahead and let me know so I can just credit him. But he made this video, I think it was for World Mental Health Day, where he asked, would you rather lose your mind or lose all of your teeth? You'd rather be toothless, right? None of us want to lose our mind. That's our most valuable asset. Now, I am not saying that Instagram is going to make you lose your mind. That's a massive overstatement. But more often than not, we'll do small things in our businesses that damage our mind and our mental well-being and destroy our peace of mind. So all I'm saying in this video is it's okay to stop doing things that take away from your peace, or it's okay to put boundaries around those things. How your business makes you feel is just as important as the profit that you make. Because if you do a lot of little things that make you feel crappy in your business, over time, that builds up to make you feel crappy 24/7. All those small things build up. So for me personally, I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but for me, if I reach my income goals, but I feel burned out, I feel unfulfilled, unsatisfied, I feel a lack of passion, then reaching my income goals feels kind of pointless to me. Because yes, while I value profit and that is important to me, my peace of mind and my mental well-being and my emotional well-being is way more important to me than any income goal that I could possibly reach. So I want to recommend actually that you guys go and check out episode 14 of my podcast, The Simple Business Show, because if you're feeling any of those emotions that I just spoke about, if you're feeling burned out and whatnot, then that podcast is called How to Recognize and Avoid Business Burnout. So definitely go and check that out. But also, like I mentioned briefly earlier, if you are feeling burned out, unfulfilled, overwhelmed in your business, then I have that awesome new guidebook called 21 Self-Care Ideas to Avoid or Treat Business Burnout. And deleting a social media app from your phone temporarily is one of the ideas from my guidebook. And there are 20 more great ideas for you to try just to help bring more peace and inner calm back to your business and back to your mind. So the link to that is below this video. Or if you're listening to the podcast, the link to that is in the show notes. So in summary, I just want to do a quick summary of what we already discussed. We've discussed whether or not you're spending too much time consuming instead of creating. We've talked about falling into the Instagram comparison trap, asking yourself why you post on Instagram. Talked about putting boundaries in place around Instagram, like maybe deleting the app from your phone for a whole day or a weekend, or just installing an app called Freedom to just put limits on the amount of time that you can spend on certain apps on your phone. So my assignment for you today is just to go ahead and delete Instagram right now, just for 24 hours. And after that time period, note how you feel. Note how you felt over those 24 hours without being attached so much to the social media app that you are on the most. And note what you did with that time instead and how productive you were instead, or how restful you were instead. Because I promise you that more times than not, you're not going to miss it. You're just going to use that time way more effectively. And if you do this and then you reinstall Instagram afterwards, because obviously I'm not being extreme, I'm not going to tell you to just delete it permanently. But once you have done this break, maybe you'll decide that it feels great and that you want to do it once a week. Because that's what I'm going to try and do after I've done my detox from Instagram. I'm going to definitely set in place a day every week where I just delete it from my phone completely. So tag me at Nisha Woolery on your Instagram story after you do 24 hours free of Instagram and let me know how it felt and what you did instead, because I would super love to find out. Hey friend, thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe to the show so you never miss future episodes. And if you're feeling extra motivated by what was discussed today, I would seriously appreciate it if you'd open up the Apple Podcast app on your phone and leave a super quick review. Honestly, your reviews tell iTunes that this podcast is worth listening to. And iTunes then gets this show in front of more solopreneurs so they can get the help they need to bring more inner calm to their business. Okay, that's it from me today. Thank you for listening, and I will speak to you soon.